Hi, I'm Mary Greendale, and this is Just Thinking. Welcome to our annual series of interviews of candidates for local government offices. The town election is May 20th. We have contests for select board between a challenger and an incumbent. For park commission, we have 4 candidates for 2 open seats. For school committee, we have 4 candidates for 2 seats with 1 incumbent. And for library trustees, we have 4 candidates for 2 seats. 2 candidates are incumbents, but 1 incumbent declined to be interviewed. That was an incumbent for the library. I am interviewing all these candidates. I have prepared specific questions for each board or committee. Each candidate will respond to the same questions for that office in their interview. I ask a few different questions of incumbents to reflect their years of service. Voters can compare the candidates' responses. The interviews are done one at a time and will be posted when all the candidates for an office have been interviewed. My goal is to have the videos run 30 minutes, except maybe longer for school committee. I had a lot of questions. The videos will be available on HCAP's website, on HCAP's YouTube channel, and on our Facebook page. Let's get started. So today we're going to be interviewing Meghan Krenselewski. Did I do that right?
Krenselewski.
Krenselewski. Yeah. We want to be right. You don't want to be out there introducing yourself with a different name.
I appreciate that.
Right. Yeah. So welcome to Just Thinking.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for agreeing to do this. So I have sent you a list of questions, gave you a heads up, so I don't like to surprise anybody. I like people to be prepared so that they know what they're thinking. Mm-hmm. Why do you want to be a library trustee?
Well, thank you for having me. And so I would love to be a library trustee just because I love books and I love the library. We've been living here for about 5 years. I have a family, I've married, and I have 4 young kids, and we spend a lot of time at the library. We're always in the children's room, and that's where I made some of my first friends here in town. It's a really important place, especially for moms with young kids or people that are looking for connections. Or information and resources, and I think it's the beating heart of a town. Whenever I go to a town, especially in New England, the first thing you look for is the library. And I've been to so many libraries around, especially Holliston, and there are so many beautiful libraries that are both historical and also renovated and refurbished, and really a reflection of like a modern sense of a library, but still, grounded in its history. And as I've spent more time like at our library and then at these other libraries, I've started to dream a little more about what we could have in Holliston, and sort of like what the next chapter would be for the library. So I feel like I have the energy and I'm ready to sort of try to help Holliston maybe move forward and try to expand into a different library setting, whether it's a new building or a different location, or whatever that looks like. I'd love to step into that role.
Okay. So 6 people took out papers for this position, which is sort of like unheard of. Okay? There were 2 seats open, and that sort of set off red flags for me because we don't see that kind of fervor and attention. Is there some sort of turmoil that you're aware of inside the library that might be going on that caused that kind of interest, or?
Well, I think it's maybe not turmoil as so much excitement.
Okay.
I think that there's been some talk about, is there a grant? Will there be a grant? Is the library moving? Is it not moving? And I think that's maybe a cause for concern for people who want to keep it downtown, or they do want to see it move to a bigger location, just because that building is a little limited in terms of what can change, because it is a historical building and it's beautiful. So I think that's probably one point of contention. Yeah, I think it's good that people care about the library, so I'm excited that that people do care and are interested in getting involved.
Just as an FYI, there is no more available public land and that's one of the biggest issues.
That is a big issue.
It's a huge issue because we're trying to find a place for the DPW, and it's like, well, it can't go there, and now what? So again, that would be a similar situation for a library.
We'll have to get creative.
Yeah, we are going to have to be creative. So what would you like to bring, or what would you bring to the trustees in terms of experience in education?
Right. So I'm a really good communicator, and I'm a people person, and my professional work is in market research and figuring out what do people need and how can we serve that need. That's sort of the core of business and marketing. And I think that when we are researching, not just, 20 years down the road, what the library could look like as it's tied to its future, as it's tied to the strategic plan for town, even just the day-to-day operations. I think the more that you can be transparent and really responsive to how people are giving feedback to the library, the better. You'll get more involvement, you'll get more communication. You'll just see more of Holliston in the library if you have a more open line of communication in different forms, not just online surveys, but more creative ways of getting in touch with people and really asking them questions about what they need and what they look for in their library. And I got a bachelor's in English and journalism from the University of Notre Dame, and while I was there, I also worked at the newspaper, and I loved that because I was the opinion editor, and I got to see all kinds of folks writing in. You get all sorts. You get alumni, you get students, and they're writing their opinions, and they need a platform to share their ideas. And it's a place where ideas can be shared in a way that's safe, but it's also a place for excellent dialogue. And I think that's really important for a town to have. And I think the place where books live can also be that kind of a place.
We used to have that when newspapers were newspapers.
Right.
Okay, we used to have like 3
newspaper.
or 4 different newspapers that service this town, and in their absence, it's been it's like pulling a plug out of a drain, and everything's gone away.
Right.
So I share your interest and your concern about communicating. So. You're one of 6 people. All of the members, including the chair, are equal in authority. So going alone, there's nothing that you can do all by yourself. You can't go out and mandate anything, which I will not promise you is sometimes frustrating when you wish, oh, I want my magic wand to work today. So anyway, what experience do you have in working on a team?
That's a great question. I work on a small team in my business, and we're just 6 to 8 people, and it's been that way for about 10 years. And personalities definitely do come to light, and personalities will conflict. But if you are looking for synergy and you're looking for being solution-oriented rather than trying to win a certain point, I think you get really, really far. And you also need to tap into everybody's strengths and what they're passionate about, because if people aren't excited or aren't skilled at what they're being asked to do, they're not going to do it. So the team, working with a team is about, finding everybody's strengths and finding what they're interested in and really getting them to contribute in a way that's meaningful to them. So I'd hope that, as a part of the board, I'd be able to contribute what I'm good at and help draw out what other people are good at, and make it like a little working family, because that's when the best work comes to light, is when everyone trusts each other and really believes that we're all working towards the same mission. Okay.
What do you see as the biggest challenge or challenges ahead? You've mentioned the building, and that's sort of a big one. Anything else?
I think the biggest challenge that I see is the building itself, and the grant is. I don't have any visibility into why the grant didn't happen, but it's happening for other towns around us. So Sherborne, Millis, Ashland, Hopkinton, they were all awarded these grants. And if you look at the map, it's all the grant awards are around Holliston, but Holliston doesn't have one. So I guess I just would want to dive more into that. It's why didn't that grant happen for us? And then hiring a director. I think a lot of turnover isn't really good for any organization, especially at the leadership level. So I'd really want to tap into why we have had so many directors come through and not stay. It could be for personal reasons, but how could we make it more attractive? How can we ensure that the next director that we choose stays and really puts down roots and invests in the community? So I feel like those 2 things hand in hand are pretty important.
Okay. what are the priorities? And the reason I chose that as being a little bit different than the challenge is that, you know, priority could be something like changing the data system. It could be something like, we really should have a copier accessible to the public, whatever. And I don't even know was any of that. Any priorities?
Yeah, I think that would have to really be part of the group discussion, and I think we'd want to look at the strategic plan for the town. I think there's a lot of really great initiatives in there in terms of being green and being more intergenerational and sort of those really big dreams that the town has for itself, and I really want to tie that into the daily operations at the library and being open about that and saying, like, this is why we are starting this program, or this is why we're changing the way things are. I think tying that into the plan for the town will really give people a vision of, like, okay, this is why things are done the way at the library, the way that they're done.
Sometimes explaining to people how something is done and why it's done that way is both very informative, but also can be pretty shocking, you know, when you discover that, you know, it may not have any rhyme or reason for today. It may have at one other time in life, and generally did have some significance. One of the biggest things to remember about Holliston is that it has historically been volunteer driven.
Right.
So, and I mean really driven. If we did a history of Holliston, and in that, if you have the chance to thumb through it, there's a copy at the library if you don't own it, you will see over and over again, whether it was the planning board or any other department or anything, the work was actually done by volunteers. So that kind of expectation today might not work. It might not be possible. And that's one of the things I think all boards need to be evaluating. So who's your constituency?
Well, the obvious first constituency is young families. That's who I relate to the easiest. I know a lot of the young families here in town, and I see a lot of them, and we have very parallel lives. We're at the playground, we're running to the grocery store at one of the other towns, which is not Holliston, or going to the superette to grab, one quick thing for dinner. And I just have a lot of similarities with the young families, but I also get to meet a lot of other people through St. Mary's, which is where I'm very involved. And I get to talk to people of all ages and different backgrounds there, because that's where a lot of people gather. Yeah, yep. Exactly. Yep. So I'd say that's my second group that I'm close with.
I was thinking as you were talking about whether or not it would be possible to have events and activities that were targeted to seniors, even though I know there's a senior center, but there are a lot of folks that can get downtown easier than they can to the senior center. And there may be some overlap and that kind of stuff, but it's at least just throw that out there as an idea. So you've already expressed your opinion about possible need of a new library, and I've already done my throwing cold water on you kind of thing, which is where. But at any rate, is there anything else you want to add to that conversation as to the need for one?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of room to grow. I mean, Holliston is growing, and I think if we want to get people more involved, like the goal for the strategic plan would be to increase involvement 5% year over year. So that means more people are going to be coming in. And I feel like there are some spaces that might be missing from the current layout of the library, such as more easily accessible meeting spaces, sort of like central, and then also remote work or quiet work spaces. I've heard that from a couple of people that I've talked to. There's nowhere to go to have, a tutoring session or having a video call for people who work remotely. And I think it would really increase our ability to host more at-home workers here in Holliston if we had more of that space. I know that they have like video conferencing gear in some of the bigger conference rooms, but they're not exactly set up for a professional setting. I guess there's a lot of boxes around. I guess the point is, I think we just need to think about how, if we want more people to work remotely from Holliston, because it saves on gas, it helps people stay closer to their families, be more present to their kids. There's a lot of benefits to working from home, even though we didn't all really love it when we had to do it. But if we get to choose it, and we could choose the library as another place to come and meet or gather in a beautiful space, I think that would be really important. So whether it's renovating the library that we have to sort of include that space as a really top priority, or finding another location somewhere or collaborating with an existing space, I think that would be on the top of the list.
Okay. What role does the library play now that technology has so disrupted the world of books? You know, do people really just read books? And describe your ideal library.
Describe my ideal library.
Yeah.
Well, I actually use my library to access books digitally most,
Yep.
like, just because I'm a mom and I'm constantly reading on the go or reading in the dark or reading on my Kindle or on a trip. And I think the Libby program is awesome. And being able to request any book from the whole network and have it show up in Holliston is pretty miraculous.
Yeah. Hoopla too.
Hoopla.
Hoopla is wonderful too.
Yeah, it's awesome. So I think that's a big plus. But when it comes to technology in the library, such as screens, things scrolling, things beeping, for kids, that's really hard to resist. And I think we all know how addictive technology is. And we know that it's really hard for any child to have a reading experience if there's something going on. So I really would push for having technology be more of a hidden resource that can come out when needed, but not always so prominently displayed. And I think we need a place to go that's quiet, a place to go where we can really study and focus and not be distracted. That would, having that balance, having technology serve you, not the other way around. I think that would be a really good way to govern those choices.
Well, there used to be. I mean, as long as you understand, like the rooms have all been rearranged. So it used to be that the two front rooms were quiet rooms. One was for just the history of Holliston. The other was just a you do not talk in this room kind of space.
Yeah.
There used to be, I can't remember the word for it. I love the word and I can't remember, but the little cubicles around the upstairs that were for individual study.
Yes.
But the more we've expanded and tried to utilize more and more space, those things have gone away. So when I was trying to do some research on the 300th anniversary book, there were days when I would be in there that I would be thinking to myself, really, kids, you're making just a little too much noise for me, because after school, it's like, they're excited, and they've just gotten out, and I wasn't mad at them for it. It's just normal, but it's like, boy, I wish I could have a corner. So I understand that one completely. Okay, so one of the toughest things that has happened here in the last few months or years regarding books in general is just the banning of books. And there was a display at the library of books that had been banned in other areas, other places. Not that we banned them, but things like To Kill a Mockingbird and books that, in my experience and my history, were required reading.
Right.
The exact opposite of what we're talking about now.
Right.
So I think since all of that happened, the library did develop, the trustees developed a process and a policy about that. But how do you feel about that juncture where that issue might come up, and how community members might come in and say, I really don't like that you've got that book on display?
Yeah, I mean, I think free speech and censorship are two things that libraries should definitely be talking about. I think having banned books, not every book that has been banned should have been banned, but not all books should be in our library. It has to be a conversation, and I think providing the context around the books to adults is really, really important, because the history of each book that has been banned and then reintroduced, or introduced and then banned, like, there must be a reason, and we have to dig into why and talking about it. So if people come in and say, why isn't this book on your ban list, or why is this book on this shelf, we have to talk to them about it and say, please tell us more. Like, let's have a dialogue, because if we try to shut anybody down, then we're just, adding to the censorship side of things. So I think having that open channel is really important, and that requires a lot of trust.
One of the things that evolved out of the DEI and all of that was the time, again, going back to questions, the drag queen story hour that was held.
Yeah.
That was a very challenging time for some people.
Yeah.
and a celebratory for others.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Again, taking that divide and saying, how do we handle this? So, as a library trustee, how do you handle that?
Right. I mean, it's really challenging when you have those hot button issues kind of come to your doorstep and you want to make everyone feel like their voices have been heard, because we can't shut down any group and say that their voice is not relevant to the situation because they belong to our town family. So there needs to be, the trustees would need to take ownership about what sort of events would be happening at the library and be very transparent about why they decided to host something like that, how it aligns with the library mission, and make that really clear to the whole community and invite discussion in a way that's civil. We need to keep civil discourse. It's so important. And maybe an instructional on civil discourse would be timely. And then that way, when we are able to welcome people, we can do it with hospitality and not have anyone feeling unsafe or having any group think that they are no longer valued at the library. So we would need to, again, it's like walking a fine balance and, you know, having lots of conversations. It's not a one trick thing.
The Board of Trustees probably will set the policy about that sort of thing, but it's definitely who you hire as a director, and that person's responsibility will be to implement that. And that is where I think some, you know, communication skills and so forth are so critical for whomever is hired as a library director.
Yeah, you have to be one of the community and sort of someone that people can go to and talk to about the issues that are coming up at the library. They'll be a bit of a public figure.
Yeah, no, truly they are. Yeah, they are. So you have said that you're a reader.
I am.
Okay, so what are you reading right now?
So I just started a new one called What the River Knows by Isabel Ibanez. And it looks like it's a Victorian mystery with a little bit of magic mixed in, which is right up my alley.
Okay.
I read a lot of historical fiction, a lot of mystery and food memoirs. Anything that involves food I enjoy. But yeah, I think I probably fall more on the fiction side of things. What about you? What do you read?
I read both. I'm more inclined to read nonfiction, but I belong to a book group that kind of forces me into the fiction world, the literary fiction.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, and then just for fun, I read mysteries. You know,
Just for fun,
Just
yeah.
for fun. Because they're, you know, whether they're about, you know, they're lighthearted dog kinds, or whether they're recipes, or
Yeah.
all that. But anyway, pretty much the same. All right. Is there anything you'd like to add? Have we forgotten anything?
No, I guess I just want to say, I know it's hard to vote for an unknown candidate and someone who's kind of new to the community, but I feel like I have a lot of energy and passion, and I'm excited to talk to people about the library, so I would just ask people to be open-minded and give me a little vote of confidence.
Do you want to do a 2-minute pitch about why they should vote for you?
Oh, that's okay. I think I covered
Okay,
it. Yeah.
okay, because we can give you the camera to let you do it.
Oh, that's all right. I'm a little camera shy, so
Okay.
much rather talk to you.
All right.
I'm all good.
Right. And if somebody did want to reach you, how might they do that?
Oh, they can email me, or should I give my email address?
Whatever you're comfortable with. Mine is all over the free world. So.
Okay, yep, it's megkrens@gmail.com. I'm open to anything.
Well, thank you for joining me. I appreciate
Yeah,
you
thank you
taking
for
your time
having
to
me.
do
This
it.
was a lot of fun.
See, it's not so scary. It's not so scary. Everybody starts off thinking it's scary, but we're not scary. All right, well, thank you and good luck to you.
Thank you.
Okay, the election, for those who forget, is May 20th. Okay, so that's a wrap. We'll see you soon. Thank you for watching Just Thinking. You've done your homework. Now please remember to vote on May 20th. It's important for you, your family, and our community. Thank you.